I think worthiness is found in just being okay with walking in your strengths, your gifts, and your talents, and not trying to be like everybody else and trying to walk in somebody else's gifts, strengths, or talents.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good night, Stephen Scoggins. Previously, episode 69 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been 3 years, 3 days, 8 hours, 32 minutes, and 54 seconds since we last recorded on the podcast.
Go empower others, go encourage others, and watch others grow around you, and watch the smile that arrives on your face while you do it.
Luckily, I got the opportunity to meet Stephen face-to-face at Transform U the following year, and then the following year after that, on the 15th of June 2018, I got to see him live in North Carolina. So that was then. This is now. Stephen, my friend, it's always a great pleasure to have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you having me back on, dude. I missed you a lot, man.
Yeah, definitely. The feeling is mutual. So it feels as though you're a brother from another mother. There's a ton of things that you've been doing, all surrounding. I think the theme of aspiration speaks out loudly in your life. Aspiration being a hope or ambition of achieving something. Dig into that first, please, and expand on what's going on, please.
Wow, well, so much has changed since you and I have actually had a chance to catch up. But I'm actually standing in our studio, our new studio, in a 27,000 square foot facility where our new auditorium is to relaunch Transform U Live. And then later next year, we'll also start Entre U, which will also be an aspiring entrepreneur curriculum. So pretty stoked about that. It's been a long journey here. I think you know that during Transform U 2 years ago, I guess it was, a little over 2 years ago, my former executive tried to take my other company out from under me while I was on stage. So that's been a battle, uncovered embezzlement amongst some other things, and I've been rebuilding, but God has been faithful and taking good care of me. So
now you are married, and there's someone on the side of you that has been supporting you as well. How's she doing?
Oh, Karen's awesome, my friend. She's a little hesitant. Apparently, I didn't get the podcast notice in the calendar, so I just got to, where you are at, I got dinner ready thing for you a few minutes ago. So, I'm going to have to make up for that pretty soon.
Yeah. When you tell her I said sorry, we can definitely provide the recording. Like, yeah, it was worth it. Please forgive us, Karen. But yeah, she is a supporter. I saw her at the event. She was there at every moment, being that person. When you couldn't be there, she stepped in. And that speaks highly of the team at home, charity beginning at home, and the importance of that. How much have you invested in the relationship to create what that is now?
The last 2 years really tested, I think it would test any marriage. Karen has been absolutely phenomenal. We try to do things intentionally. We've, with the amount of stress that came over the last 2.5 years, I missed pretty much right after Transform U. I went back to work almost full time, almost 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for a solid year. So we barely saw each other. So that put a testing on us, but we've managed to work through some things. I've had some good friends, obviously, help along the way. And I think what we focus on is trying to be intentional with the time that we have. And then now I think life is slowing down a little bit, obviously, for me to kind of get back home and spend more time with her. We have, I think, 3 or 4 vacations scheduled in the next 12 months. So I'm pretty excited about that kind of things.
Sweet. So Transform U is on the cusp of being released again. How excited are you about that?
I'm pretty excited, but come to find out, a lot of the people that went to Transform U are incredibly excited. Many of them right after the event, they were like, when are we doing the next one? When are we doing the next one? I was like, just give me a, kind of thing. And then, so I was in the meeting today with my new executive assistant, Renee, and then Connor was there, and just really game planning some things. We're probably actually going to do some one-day events just for fun to kind of reintroduce everybody to kind of who we are, what we're doing. So we're pretty excited about that. Karen's on board. Like I said, I can't get away from trying to make transformation and impact for others. That's just who I am at my core. So
it's amazing, right? You have a huge giving aspect of who you are. And of course, over the years, you've had to put up boundaries that are necessary for that. When you look back over the experiences you've had, do you have any regrets?
No, it took a little while to get to the place where I was actually thankful for that year following, or literally the last 2 years following the Transform U event. and kind of having to rebuild my other company from, kind of from the ground, I've been taught a lot. I call it the crushing. The crushing is the best thing that can actually ever happen to you as you're growing. It created in me a new level of confidence, but also humility. It created a new level of stability, but also fragileness. And I find that those things are actually speaking to people where they are today. And it was nice that in a roundabout way, I got to experience some of those feelings that I had largely distanced myself from, forgotten from that homeless kid that started the first company. So it's taught me a ton. I'm actually thankful for adversity and the crushing, because that's what teaches you the best.
You have really, really, really gone through a ton. I remember when you shared on signing up for the Navy SEALs and what that incurred as well. It's really amazing when you think about how one can be successful in so many other aspects of their lives and still have that feeling of I'm not good enough. And I think it's something that happens with all of us, right?
Yep.
As human beings, I'm not good enough. And what it takes to repair that, it's something that you never get away though if you deny. Would you say that's accurate?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it gets better over time. As you mature, as I've matured now, my emphasis used to be on promotion, self promotion, and now it's more on making the impact. I think when you focus on trying to feel like you have to be worthy to everybody else, it causes you to act out way too far. And then what happens is you end up distancing yourself from other people. So I think worthiness is found in just being okay with walking in your strengths, your gifts, and your talents, and not trying to be like everybody else and trying to walk in somebody else's gifts, strengths, or talents. And I think that was probably one of the greater lessons that's come out of the last couple of years.
In extension, we can as well agree that death is a part of the concepts of life that we have to face. Understanding that, have you had a conversation with death?
Yeah, I mean, death are good. I know Jesus. I know where I'm going. So when the time comes, I'm good to go. But it doesn't mean I want to leave anytime soon. I see some grandbabies and whatnot, and I want to watch. We still have a goal of transforming 1 million lives in my lifetime, and that's still the goal. But if he takes me home now, I'll be just as good. So, and my family's taken care of. I've got all my retirement planning. I've got my Ramsey on. I got my debt paid off and debt free and all that good stuff. So we're in a good place. Faith is powerful in that respect. It gives you security that you can't experience any way other.
There's so many budding entrepreneurs that listen to the podcast, so many upcoming individuals. The podcast in itself, we intend to have it up for a long past my life. What would you say to that person that's listening like 50, 100 years from now? What would you say to them if they are looking to start something or if they're looking to make a difference in their life first?
Yeah, so a couple different things. First of all, I would get really super clear on 3 questions. The first one is, who am I? The second one is, what am I supposed to do? And the third one is, what do I do next? So if you can answer those 3 questions, then you're already positioning yourself to start organizations, start entities, start from a really good place. Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs early on start with the focus of making money rather than the focus of making an impact. And if you can make an impact, the money will always come. So if you can answer those 3 questions on the front side, then your insecurities are less likely to bite you in the butt as you're trying to build a massive organization.
Where's the best place for people to go to follow up on what's coming with Steven Scoggins?
As always, I think just hit up journeyprinciples.com. They can always check me out at Steven Scoggins on Facebook and also Instagram. Love to stay in contact.
Love it, love it, love it. Steven, well, I want to say thank you, my friend. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Amanda and I both, and our family by extension, for the support pillar that you've carried as well with the 12-minute convos, goals and visions. You've been an amazing support. But what I find most motivating and inspirational is that you've carried on with the thing that you've decided to be intentional with, and that's creating change. So I want to say thank you for that. It brings great pleasure to check in and say, hey, are you doing what you said you were doing?
Yes, sir.
And it's good to hear that. Yes. So thank you for that, Steven. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Oh, man. Anything else I want to share? If you got a burning in your heart, stick with it, see it through, and you know what'll happen.
Steven Scoggins, again, a treasure, a pleasure, I treasure. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-minute convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.